Going for two, kickers are extra, I give them the boot. Ooh, going for two, sit back, relax while I grab me a brew. Ooh, now I'm reclining while putting my time and I'm ready to go. My spine is aligning and much my lineups, my bank account grow. I am so rich, but knowledge is all that I'm leaving it with. Ooh, listen to this, multiple options, how far can I get? Ooh, DFS Dynasty redraft tonight, I'm not finishing last. I'm finishing past any and all, I am looking to last. What else? This spot is popping and I am so locked in and only opening the door when it is opportunity knocking. And all of these spots keep on talking and talking. So what are we talking? What kind of alignment? And running it deep, even players forgotten or came from the bottom or hitting that top end. And this spot is popping, yeah, this spot is popping. And woo! This is the armchair, yeah. Put up your arms, yeah. Sound the alarm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Woo!
What is going on, guys, and welcome to episode 305 of the Armchair Fantasy Show. I'm your host, of course, Jeff Lambert. You can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. Of course, we're presented by the Going for Two Live Podcast Network, and we're live every Wednesday and Friday night, but this will be our last Friday night for quite a while. Of course, we're on Facebook Live, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch, and, of course, in all major podcast networks. I'm here with only one of my co-hosts tonight, Tim Strobel. Gerson couldn't make the show tonight, but Tim is here. What's up, Tim?
Yeah, man, last show of the year. I couldn't miss it. You know, shout out to G. I know he's busy out there, but we got to do one more show for y'all.
Good stuff. Yeah, we typically didn't do playoffs in the past, but, you know, we figure it's a 6-game slate. If you do the Saturday, Sunday, Monday slate, it's a pretty decent slate. So we'll go ahead and break it down for y'all and give y'all one more show before we sign off for the year. And then, of course, we won't see y'all again until probably like September. But let's go ahead. I'm going to hit the weekly rewind button, but we're going to kind of rewind our entire year.
The weekly rewind. Rewind.
Tim, I'll let you go first. Talk DFS, talk season long, whatever you want to talk about for fantasy.
Yeah, I did not have a great year in season long. The big money league, the one I care about the most, I got like 9th. It was definitely one of my worst years. I did pretty well in Scott Fishbowl. It was my first year in Scott Fishbowl when I made the playoffs, so I was pretty happy about that. In DFS, it was a good year. I didn't play quite as much as I did last year, but I think my winning percentage was actually higher. So I had a good fun, and it's been a good year, man.
Yeah. So before I get into my rewind, I said before the show over under when Gerson might jump on the podcast. The over under should have been set at 3 minutes because Gerson.
Hey,
what's up, G? How are you?
How you guys doing, man?
Good, man. So we're doing our rewind. You want to rewind your fantasy season real quick?
Yeah, I
season
came on
long
to say hi.
DFS. How'd you
That's
do?
good, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Okay. Yeah, my right headphone acting up though, so I was just checking. Yeah, guys, I gotta check in and I'm gonna do it with you guys. Last week, I usually don't play this, but I got this. I even put it at the sheets updated. It's in, Jeff. I had to show up when you actually look all fresh, Jeff. You look lined up. What is this? You got beard oil and all that? Like
I got the man bun. You can't see it, but there's a man bun back here.
Oh yeah. But yeah.
For those who are longtime followers of the show, Gerson once rickrolled everybody by saying he was going to Vegas and actually going to Minnesota. And I felt like that is what happened this week. He told us all he was not going to be here, only for him to show up, have his whole sheet ready to go, and just be like, "What up, y'all? G in the house."
Yeah,
we got rickrolled.
Good stuff.
So G, how was your fantasy season? How was your season-long leagues? How was your DFS? How did everything go this year? Good year?
It was my fantasy season was great. I was in 22 leagues, made 6 championships, won 5 of them, and then placed second place in 4 of them, and then third place in 1 of them. And what sucked is that the one that I was like one of the biggest money makers, or it would have been like a $1,200 prize for me. My brother beat me, so yeah. And the fucked up, but the messed up thing is, I invited him to this league because this guy that left, his keepers were CeeDee Lamb, Travis Kelce, and Saquon Barkley. And I was like, dude, that's like a championship team already, you know?
Yep.
And then Jason wins it. He beat me in the final.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Great season fantasy. DFS was great. I was profitable. That's all I can ask for, No big hits, but I mean, it's hard. The NFL is the hardest sport. I think baseball and basketball are easier, but football is there's so many competitions out there.
Yep, agreed. So my fantasy season was pretty good, season long. I finally, I got it sitting right here. Actually, I finally won our championship trophy for my dynasty. It is if you can read that, it's probably backwards. Oh no, you can actually read it. It's called the Anybody But Jeff Trophy. Because my league hates me so much that they don't want me to win, so they're all against me. They just want anybody.
Hey, these are the guys that I met.
Finally brought it home.
Is this the famous Jameis Blake Bortles league?
Yes, it is. That was the year we went dynasty. So this league's been going on since 1996. We went dynasty the year after Bortles and Allen Robinson had their huge season. I forget what the year it was, but that's when we went dynasty.
Did you say 1886?
What was that?
You said you started playing in 1886?
1886, yes.
Before
football even existed, we played fantasy.
Absolutely. He was killing it.
DFS wise, I had a great season. Honestly, thanks to you two guys, I had a good season. I seem to always do good whenever we have our shows. I listen to your notes, and I've said it before in the podcast, but when I do my my Saturday night lineup building, I put our show on and literally listen to it while I build my lineups, because if there's things that I forget, like, oh yeah, I forgot Tim called that player out, or Gerson said this player is a really good play, and I'll put him in my lineups on Saturday night, getting ready for Sunday. So definitely had a pretty good season in DFS as well. All right, so we got a 6-game slate to talk about. Let's go ahead and jump into it.
Let's talk quarterbacks.
All right, well, we all got the same guy at the top here. Tim, I'll let you go ahead and talk about Mr. J.A.
Yeah, I think if you're playing the 6-game slate, whether you're playing the 6-game slate or the 2-game slate, I think your first decision is whether or not you're playing Josh Allen. Right, he's easily the best quarterback on the board. He's also the most expensive, but they are the highest over/under by like 3.5 points. So he's clearly the highest potential play on the board. And like I said, that's why I think he's your first decision. Depending on what projection sites you look at, I've seen him anywhere from like 24 points to 29 points. So that's pretty big range. But at 7,900, that's more than 3x value that you're looking for. So the real question with Josh Allen is, if you play him, how do you fit everything else, right? And who you stack him with, and I think we're going to talk about some guys later, but I know for the 6-game slate, I'm going to have a lot of Josh Allen.
Yeah, and I should have said that at the top of the show here, guys. We're going to be doing the show based on the 6-game slate. Obviously, we know there's a 2-game slate and a 3-game slate and a 1-game slate. Our prices might differ a little bit from those slates, but these plays are still pretty good on all the slates. So we're just going to talk about the 6-game slate.
Like Oprah, there's a 2-game slate, a 1-game slate, 3. Everybody has a slate.
Everybody gets a slate.
Yeah, I will say it's easier to find value over 6 games than it is on the 2-gamer.
Yeah, 100% agree. The only thing I had, obviously, Josh Allen is a beast against anybody, but Miami does give up the most rushing yards to quarterback on the season as well. So Josh Allen can have a big game rushing and passing, and they're going to have a lot of short fields because they're starting Skylar Thompson or Thomas or whatever his name is for the Dolphins. So, I don't anticipate their offense going to be able to hang with the Bills, so it'll be a lot of short fields for them as well. So J.A. is definitely at the top of the list. Gerson, we'll go down to the mid-tier here. Mid-tier is a little bit more lucrative down here. Talk about one of your mid-tier guys.
I just want to talk about Josh Allen real quick before we move on. Josh Allen, that's a great play. I don't think this game will be close, though. And I think they're just basically going to try to keep that team moving on to the next round, I wouldn't be shocked if they blow out by the third quarter, fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And then they sit those guys. But, I understand the play. He can always, honestly, if they're going to blow him out, they're going to blow him out with Josh Allen. But my mid-tier guy, he's my top-tier player on the whole slate for a quarterback, is Justin Herbert. Herbert lost Mike Williams. Yeah, that sucks. But still, this matchup is pretty juicy for him against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars have actually been pretty impressive. The last week, it was a bad outing for them against the Tennessee Titans. But just take that out of there. But just check that and then see what's going on. Hold on, give me a second. But give me Justin Herbert in this matchup. It's going to shoot out. I think this game will shoot out for sure. So that's my top guy right there.
Yeah, sorry. I know Gersten's got some feedback in his mic, so we're gonna see. He's on earbuds. Maybe that's why, but we'll see if we can get that fixed. But obviously, yeah, Justin Herbert. I also have him on my list as well. Jacksonville is 30th DVOA versus the pass. This game has got the second highest total on the slate. I do think it's going to shoot out as well. And even without Mike Williams there, I think Herbert definitely is one of my top plays. Tim, what you got for your mid tier?
Yeah, we're talking about the 6-game slate from a strategy standpoint. I think people are going to play a lot more heavy on the Saturday and Sunday slate than the Monday slate. So my favorite quarterback on the 6-game slate is actually Tom Brady, because I don't think anybody is going to play the Bucs side of that stack. I think that, like I said, people are going to play a guy we're going to talk about here, right? The Saturday slate, Sunday slate is going to be very popular. Brady at home this year has been much better than on the road. And if there's one thing we know about Dak Prescott is that he is not fit for prime time. He's suspect. We're going to find that out again this week. And I think that Brady blows him out. I think that the Buccaneers score, 28, 30 points in this game. And the most important thing is I think he's going to be one of the lowest owned quarterbacks on the slate. So if you want to figure out a way to be different and be able to win a big tournament, you save all of your PMR for Monday and stack Brady.
Nice. I like it. Good alternative strategy there. I like it. Gerson, you have one more guy in your mid tier there. Go ahead and talk about the other guy.
Yeah, I don't. The only reason I went, I don't know what you got, woohoo, whatever. But it's like I haven't heard anybody talk about Brady, and I thought I was the only one, man. I was like,
yeah.
So this is probably the healthiest the offensive line been healthy all season, and they're playing the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys secondary has taken a hit. They lost 2 of their cornerback. I love the call, Tim. Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk Cousins is going to be my heaviest exposed quarterback, even higher than Justin Herbert. It's more for the price. 5.9K is very cheap. We already seen him have almost a close 300-yard game, and I believe he had 2 or 3 touchdowns. I think it was 3 touchdowns. But we've seen the secondary. The way you beat the Giants is basically through the pass, Giants defense is up and down, too. It's very inconsistent.
Yep.
And I think – now I know Alex is probably going to get pissed when I say this, but I think in the playoff, I don't think Daniel Jones I don't know if he's ready for this prime time, but honestly, that defense in Minnesota Vikings is so bad that I can see this game just shooting out. And it already had before. It was 24-27, not a shootout, 24-27, but still, look at the total yard they put up in that game. Mm-hmm. It was pretty freaking big. But okay, it's confirmed Jared is talking. I will never vouch for Jared. Never. But anyway, yeah, man, I love Kirk Cousins this week. It's hard, though, because of the pricing range. There's a lot of pricing range. You're obviously going to – if you're stacking Kirk Cousins, you're going to stack him with Justin Jefferson.
Yep.
Right.
And you might be nervous, right? The last 2 weeks, he's gotten you a total of freaking 10 points, maybe?
Yep.
I don't even know. He's a fake-ass wide receiver. That's what we call him here at the Golden for you. Hopefully one day, we get that trending. It'd be funny, But, yeah, give me Kirk Cousins, 5.9K. I think I want to take the saving and then stack him with what's the name? Justin Jefferson. It's funny because we all have 3 different names for him. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, I got Jay Jettas. You got fake ass wide receiver 1. Yeah, we do all have different names for him. All right, so I'm going to go to the other side of that game. You mentioned him, Mr. Daniel Jones, Vanilla Vic, as I call him. We mentioned how bad Minnesota's defense is versus the pass. And Jones had his best pass game of the season against them. He threw for 334 yards against them just a few weeks ago. So at 5.6 with his rushing upside, I do think that he can put up some good fantasy points. Is he ready for prime time in playoff? I guess we're going to find that out. We don't really know. Haven't seen him in the playoffs before, so we'll see how he does. But that 5.6 price tag with his upside with the rushing ability, I think is definitely worth putting in your lineups. And we mentioned how bad the Vikings defense definitely is.
He's a top 12 quarterback, according to a friend of mine,
And I just realized I took the only guy that you two both had as values as well. Anything y'all want to add to Daniel Jones?
No, man. I think it's a great play, but I think you're doing it more for value than anything. I mean, obviously the
outside
upside.
of Josh Allen, he's the most likely to score with his legs. That's the one thing I'll say.
I mean, his upside he has rushing upside, but like this is playoff. I know the Vikings haven't really been great in the playoffs in the last 10 years, but the Giants
10 years
since that. Whoa, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a Viking fan, so
I mean, way back in 1886, they were terrible.
even what's his name? Fuck now. Okay, so the Vikings. I mean, who are they playing again? Now I forgot already. You got
The
me laughing.
Giants.
Yeah, even the Giants since their Super Bowl run. I mean, no, ever since Odell Beckham Jr. got on the boat. Yeah, they haven't been all that great either. So it's going to be interesting to see this matchup. But I honestly think this game can honestly be the biggest shootout. I feel like
this is going to be the chalkiest game, though. Especially, I think. Yeah, go ahead.
But I think we're rethinking it or reimagining it of what happened with the Colts and Viking when it was like a Saturday slate.
Yeah,
I think that's what we're going to get here.
Yeah. I did have one more name that I had to throw there as a value, 5.3, Brock Purdy. He's had 15 or more points in every game he started. And if he plays at that level at 5.3, that's 3 times value right there. He's had multiple touchdown passes in every game he started as well. He's playing against Seattle, who he played in Week 14, had a good game against them. And, we'll talk about a guy that we're going to talk about here in just a minute that's going to be one of his top targets, and the Seahawks are terrible against tight ends. So I think Brock Purdy is a sneaky sort of pivot off of the chalkier Daniel Jones if you want to get different with the slate here.
Yeah, the Purdy call.
Yeah, the one thing I'll add is that the Vikings are 27th DVOA and the Giants are 29th DVOA. So if there's one game that's likely to hit 60, it's that one.
Yep, 100%. 100%. All right, let's get to the tight ends.
Did somebody say tight ends?
All right, we'll kick it off with you, Gerson. Give me one of your tight ends.
Well, I'm not going to take the one you have, so I don't want to be that guy. Basically, tight end, TJ Hawkinson. Again, I'm going right back to that game. Like Tim said, it has almost an over-under of 60 point. It could have that over-under 60 point, like the total. I don't know exactly what is it, like 52?
I think it's 48.5, I believe. I believe it's that's the last I checked at least.
Yeah, it's 48.5.
Which is the highest on the slate.
Well, that's sad, but anyways. But like we said, it could shoot out to 60. Hawkinson gotten targeted every game since he's been traded to them. Like, he is being peppered. Like, honestly, Cousin is just downing on him along with Jefferson. Right now, Jefferson is probably, I think teams are starting to figure him out. You jam him at the beginning of the line. Once he gets let loose, that safety comes down there and gets him. I'm not a football coach or anything. Well, I'm a football coach for my nephews, but I'm not an NFL coach here, okay? Tim knows more about that kind of stuff because he's a professional flag football player, Just letting you guys know. But I love Hawkinson. His price is not ridiculous. Like, it's almost in that range where, okay, maybe I'll pay for him, but, like, there's not an elite tight end. I mean, there's no Travis Kelce on the slate. Nobody's breaking the slate. But we've seen Hawkinson break the slate, 2 times this year?
Twice this year, yep.
And one of them was against the Giants, so I mean, it's certainly there.
All right, Tim, I'll let you take my homer pick there because I want to talk about the other guy that I got on my list.
Yeah, I mean, George Kittle, all he does is score touchdowns, right? I mean, we were talking about, paying up to be contrarian at tight end. I think that's a great play. I think most people are going to pay down at tight end as we usually do. But I love George Kittle, man. Him and Brock Purdy, they seem to have a connection. Last 4 weeks, he scored 7 touchdowns. That's just ridiculous. And then he gets the same matchup, Seattle, that he had 2 touchdowns against just a few weeks ago. One of the worst teams against tight ends. So, I mean, if there is one person that has that 30-point upside at tight end on this slate, it's George Kittle, right? Yeah. And we always talk about, weather benefits tight ends a lot of times too, right? So, like, Brock Purdy's not, going to be throwing the ball probably 20-plus yards downfield. He's going to be looking for George Kittle on those 8, 10, 12-yard routes, particularly when they get around the end zone. Look for big number 85.
Yep, I like it.
Yeah, I mean, that weather is going to be 20 to 30 miles per hour. it is going to be raining early in the morning, and then get a forecast of like drizzle, but the wind is still going to be there. I do want to say this though. Brock
Weather
Purdy,
or no weather, I like him either way.
Yeah.
no, that's Brock Purdy. The pass attempt been a lot lower with Brock Purdy at quarterback. I don't
Sure.
know how much. I think the Niners are in the same boat as like they just want to move on to the next round. They know they're better than this team. They're going to beat them, just like the Bills. I mean, but I like that call. Kittle is obviously a great tight end, but like I don't know about the Brock Purdy call though.
So the tight end I want to talk about. So typically, like when we're doing these the tight end slates during the season, it's usually Travis Kelce. Mark Andrews is the number 2 tight end, and he had a little bit of a down season this year. He's at 5.2. He's the second highest priced tight end on the slate. But if you look at 2 weeks ago when Huntley was the quarterback, and I believe Huntley's going to get the start this weekend, he had 9 targets for 100 yards, and I think Huntley has looked for him, a little bit towards the end of the season there when he was healthy. As long as Huntley's getting the start. Now, if it's the other quarterback, Anthony Johnson or whatever his name is, then take him off the board. But if it's Huntley starting, I do like Andrews at 5.2 at that price tag. So
and they gave him the week off just to make sure he'd be ready for this game. So
100%.
Got that fresh leg bonus.
I think he gets something crazy like a 29% target share too, which is ridiculous. If you had that for a wide receiver, you'd smash that at 5.2. So as a tight end at 5.2, he's definitely worth paying up for.
Yeah.
All right, let's move down into the mid-tier. Tim, what you got for your mid-tier?
I'm going to go with Dalton Schultz. I think he's probably my favorite mid-tier tight end. I told you I'm going to have a lot of exposure to that Dallas-Tampa Bay game, particularly if I'm playing the 6-game slate, because I think that you want that PMR. But it's also a good matchup for tight ends. They're bottom 5 in a number of categories, and we know Dak likes to focus on his tight end. Last couple of weeks, he's had 9 targets, 10 targets. Against the same Tampa Bay team, he had 9 targets. So at 4,300, I think most people are going to go to a guy we're going to talk about here in a second. And so I think you'll be able to get Schultz at much lower ownership.
I like it. Carson, what you got for your mid-tier tight end?
Yeah, I think the guy we're talking about is Evan Ingram. Is that correct, Tim? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Evan Ingram.
You are correct.
Evan Ingram had like the highest target for tight end in the last month, I believe. So I think Ingram for me is going to be one of my top plays at tight end. He's not expensive. I mean, he's 4,200. That's fairly priced for what he's going to get targeted, and the ownership is there too. It's not low, but I think on a slate like this, like if you're playing a main slate, then you're going to want to play the chalk, but you have to get different in many ways. I hate playing and you guys know this. I hate playing Saturday slate, Monday slate, this stuff. But usually I just play the main slate. But on a slate like if you're playing Evan Ingram, he's a great play. I'm gonna have a lot of exposure to him. I'm gonna eat that chalk, even though it's probably the wrong thing to do, especially at tight end since it's so volatile. But once you're getting that much target, and this defense hasn't been all that great against tight end. Derwin James can shut you down, but the thing is, I think they're going to use Derwin James more to shut down Christian Kirk or Zay Jones. Wow, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
So I only had Evan Ingram as my mid-tier, so I'll go back to you, Tim. You give me another mid-tier tight end you got there.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Dawson Knox. We talk about George Kittle. All he does is score touchdowns. So is Dawson Knox, touchdown in his last 4 games. One of those games was against these same Miami Dolphins, and he had 8 for 98 and a touchdown. So I think Schultz and Ingram are better plays. I think they'll be more popular for that reason. But whether you're doing a Josh Allen stack or just Knox as a one-off, I think he's a great option if you need to save a couple $100.
I like it. Gerson also had Gerald Everett, but we'll move on into the value tier here. I'm going to talk about Cade Otton, a guy that I've had a couple times in the value throughout the season. I heard a stat today, and I had to actually go check it to make sure it was legit. But Cade Otton has had the second most routes run for a rookie tight end in the last 10 years. Only one person that had more was Kyle Pitts last season. So he's definitely out there, in running routes, and that's what you want at 2.8. You can't go wrong with that price tag. They're going to throw the ball a ton in this game. So Cade Otton at 2.8 is probably the cheapest tight end that I feel comfortable putting into a lineup this weekend. Tim, you got another value tight end there. Go ahead and talk about your guy there.
Yeah, Hayden Hurst. You talk about the cheapest guy you feel comfortable putting in a lineup. For me, it's Hayden Hurst. I like the Bengals this week. We haven't really talked much about the Bengals, but I think this is going to be your cheapest exposure there. But like you said, he's not going to break the slate, right? You're hoping he falls in for a touchdown, maybe gives you 5 for 50 and a touchdown, and none of those mid-range guys we talked about do anything. So you save that 1,200 and put it to upgrading, your quarterback or your tight end we just talked about.
All right, let's get to the running backs.
It's time for running backs. Running backs.
All right, Gerson, go ahead and kick us off here. What's your elite running back here?
I mean, it's pretty easy for me. It's Christian McCaffrey. I'm not getting cute with it. They didn't trade for this guy for what did they trade, Jeff? A second, a third, and like a fifth or something like that?
Yeah, yep. It was a conditional fifth, but yeah, I think so.
They didn't trade him to make him a split running back in the playoff, the most critical part of the season. They're going to give him the full workload. I believe CMC, even with Elijah Mitchell back there, he's going to get like at least 70% of the workload. This is playoff time. What's his name? And maybe I speak for myself, but I think if the 49ers get eliminated or somehow by miracle in this round, dude, your coach is on the hot seat. They're giving you everything you've wanted. I know Brock Purdy is not the starting quarterback, but hey, you went out for Trey Lance, he got hurt. Jimmy G, he got hurt. All right, you got Brock Purdy. You got to work your magic. Let's see. But as a 49er team, I think they want to just go on to the next round, and they're going to go full workload with CMC. Debo is back, though, but I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about that at all because CMC is just going to get either rushing upside or pass catching upside. And with that weather condition, I think that game is just going to go through CMC. He's not expensive at all either. I mean, to me, that's pretty freaking cheap. You guys remember when we used to pay $10,000 for CMC?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Anytime he's under 9K, you basically lock him in.
Yep, absolutely. And you said you're not worried about Debo, but I'll tell you who's worried about Debo, and that's the Seahawks. So they got to pay attention to Debo. That gives them one more thing to worry about, leaving even more room for CMC to break loose. So, I like that call. Tim, what you got for your elite?
Yeah, I think the only other high-end guy on the slate, or at least in my opinion, if you're not playing CMC, is Saquon Barkley, right? I mean, like we talked about, he's been getting consistent usage, and they've been using him more in the passing game, which is what you're really looking for. You can beat the Vikings through the running back through the pass. He had 10 targets in their last game, 8 catches for 49. He also had 14 for 84. So, I mean, if you look at his last 5 games, he had, 18 touches, 14 and 8 is 22 touches. And then 17, he only had 14 touches in that game, but they were up, way up in that game. So they kind of pulled him. So, I mean, when they've been close, they've been running Saquon, and, it really just is a leverage off Christian McCaffrey. Like, I don't know if you can optimally play both of those guys in a lineup. And if you do, I think you probably give up too much points up top. But, it wouldn't shock me if a CMC Saquon lineup ended up taking it all down this weekend.
Yeah, that's a good call. So y'all took both of the elite guys that I had, but Gerson, you got one more elite guy there. I want to hear you talk about Austin Eckler a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Austin Eckler out of those elite guys probably going to be the lowest owned, to be honest. Yep. It's kind of shocking me, especially with Mike Williams out. The thing is, like, Austin Eckler, I don't get it. He's probably the most underrated fantasy football player I've ever seen, dude. Like, it's so crazy. Like, people don't give him props, but this guy has back-to-back top 5 running back season. I mean, what more does he have to show us? Like, I mean, he's awesome for the fantasy community. Let's give him credit, the guy is freaking cool.
He plays fantasy. He goes on fantasy podcasts. He does it all.
Dude, like, why don't we love him more? I mean, going for 2 Network, definitely love him. But the matchup, I think, like, again, this game is going to be a shootout. There are 2 games we're targeting with this game and then obviously the Viking game. But Eckler is so underrated, man. For the target that he can get, I don't think there's, besides CMC, a running back on this slate that can get 10 targets.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking for usage and volume. Like, obviously, it's the same thing, but Eckler can do it both ways, too. And he's a touchdown machine. The Jaguars, they can I think they can keep up with the Chargers.
Yeah.
But it just, to me, it's simple math. Mike Williams out. Who's going to get peppered? Keenan Allen and him. I know we have Gerald Everett. We talked about him, but I'm going to those two guys. Those are the top two guys. This is playoff time. Like, nobody I know during the season we talk about, like, oh, this is their game plan. This is the game plan, and that's it in the playoff. I mean, how many times have we said it? Like, playoff, go time.
Yep, 100% agree. So the guy I'm going to talk about is down in the mid tier, and he has been in the past one of those elite guys. I think we kind of forgot about him a little bit because he hasn't closed the season very strong. But Dalvin Cook at 7K, he's going up against the Giants defense that's 32nd DVOA versus the run. He didn't have a great game versus them last time, but I think that the Vikings will come out and try to utilize him a little bit more. Again, like I said, the Giants are not good against the run. Dalvin Cook is one of those guys that can take over a game at any point. We saw him in that game, that big comeback where he had like an 80-yard catch and run. He can do that at any point. So I like Dalvin Cook at his price tag, especially at the 7K price tag. Tim, let's go to you. What you got for your mid-tier?
Yeah, I put this guy on my list almost like I felt like I had to, and that's Travis Etienne. I think he's going to be the chalkiest running back on the slate. Him and McCaffrey are probably going to be the most commonly paired. And it's just because his price is just way too cheap for the volume, right? I mean, we know you attack the Los Angeles Chargers on the ground, right? They are 29th DVOA. They give up the highest yards per carry in the league. Like, everything lines up for Travis Etienne to have a great game, but he's only 6,000 on the short slate, 6,300 on the 6-game slate. Like, he's just way too cheap, right? He should be closer to 7,000.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to be very, very popular for that reason. We've talked about the passing game. I think that's the easiest way to get off the chalk and leverage him, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if he had 26 points. And if he does, then he's the guy you got to have. So I'm definitely going to have some exposure, even though he will be highly owned.
Good stuff. Gerson, kick off the value tier here. What you got for your value?
Yeah. Sorry, I got distracted. I'm trying to answer a question on YouTube, but that's not working. So, I mean, in value, I have Jeff Wilson. Wait, Tim didn't talk about that, did he? He talked about
he
it.
didn't.
Go for it.
Okay, thank God. Sorry, I'm trying to answer questions here. No, I mean, you can't end the show without something happening before, right? The season. But no, I have Jeff Wilson. Mostert out. He's not going to play. I think this is probably the best value on the running back slate, on the running back situation. But
yeah,
it does worry me a little bit. I don't think this value will be like a 20-point, 30-point at all.
Yeah.
I'm thinking more like maximum 15 to 16 points.
17. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I'm not looking for a home run hitter here. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Like, when Jeff doesn't know if it's Skylar Thompson, or it's Skylar. Jeff was about to come out here and say, what's his name in Martin Lawrence movie, Skywalker. I mean, that's how bad it is, man. But
no, I was gonna say they have a 15-point implied total. That is definitely what scares me the most. Is because they may not score in this game, and if they do, they may score once. So if Jeff Wilson doesn't get that one touchdown that they may score, then he's going to end up with like an 8.6, right? Like 12 rushes for 86 yards and no touchdown, and then you're just like, well, fuck.
The crazy thing is the ownership is not even that high, especially on a value that's supposed to be a great value. But what actually like got me thinking, I'm like, it's Mike McDaniel, dude. Like, he's a smart guy. I think he's a smart coach. Yeah. It's just, how is he going to make it work, you know? And he's going to figure something out. There's a reason. So what is Teddy Bridgewater injured or what?
I think he's on IR, I believe.
So IR, and now we're playing Skylar Thompson. Yeah. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I play Dynasty and stuff. I don't think Skylar Thompson is a bad quarterback. He's a decent quarterback with backup. Like, he's gonna be a clipboard bitch, you know, and that's all he's gonna be. But I don't think 16 points is not the ceiling. But I wouldn't be shocked if he get, and then the ownership is gonna go up because, you know, by Sunday, Saturday, Monday, whatever slate you're playing, that ownership is going to creep up when people talking like it. We're talking about it right now, and I don't even feel great about it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed. So I have two guys in my values here that neither one of you have. I'll talk about one of them first. And Tim mentioned about the Monday night game not being as highly owned because people want to see those points go up. Playoff Lenny. I know it's a tough matchup. Dallas is very good against the run, but we've seen it in the past. He's done it in the past. They rested him week 18, even though the other guys didn't. I mean, Tom Brady was even out there playing, but they rested Playoff Lenny to get him ready for this. They're going to give him a huge workload at 5.3. He's an excellent value, I think, at this price tag. I think he gets a ton of volume.
Y'all better be ready for Super Bowl, Lenny.
Yeah, Lombardi Lenny.
Yeah, that's when we kind of get a break, right? Because they didn't play last week, DraftKings priced him down a little bit. Like, oh, he took a 0. We got to price him down. I agree. I think he's a good value. Sorry, go ahead.
Is that how the algorithm works, Tim? Please, you know DraftKings secret?
A little bit. Yeah. No, well, I'll tell you, my secret, and it's been a secret all year we talked about on this show, is when the Bills are in a close game, they play Devin Singletary. But when a blowout, they play James Cook. And it's James Cook week, baby. There is one value running back I think that has that 20-point potential this week. It's James Cook. I think he could see the entire second half. Yeah, he could be out there cooking.
He's gonna be cooking.
He might even be cooking more than his brother this week. We'll see about that, but I'm not going to quite make that call. But I will tell you that he is my favorite running back at 4,800. I think he's one of the best ways to get different on the whole slate. And if you pay 4,800 for one of your running backs, then even if you play CMC as the other one, you can still build out a hell of a lineup.
Yeah, I love it. I love that call. I had one more guy I just wanted to mention really quick, and this is more of a gut thing because I have a feeling. I know, Tyler Huntley's playing for the Ravens, and everyone expects the Cincinnati Bengals just to come out and roll over him. But Dobbins has looked really, really good. I mean, he hasn't put up a ton of fancy points the last couple of games, but he still had 17 carries for 93 rushing yards against the Steelers' really good rushing defense. He averaged almost 5.5 yards per carry in week 18. Before that, he averaged 5 yards per carry versus trying to pull up the teams that he had versus Atlanta, which who doesn't do that? He had a 9.62 average against Cleveland and then an 8-point average in the game against Pittsburgh before that. So he's been really doing well. He's just not getting the ton of snaps with only like about half of the snaps right now. But I think that they're going to come out and say, this is it. We're going to go for the playoffs. We're going to just play him. Hopefully he can hold up. That'll be their game plan, to run the ball, play defense, and hopefully keep that game, kind of shorten the game a little bit. So at 5.7, I do like Dobbins a little bit as well. Anybody else you want to mention before we get to the receivers, guys?
No.
Nope. All right, let's do receivers.
And now, wide receivers.
All right, let's go ahead and kick off the elites here. And since Jared just jumped into the chat, Tim, why don't you go ahead and talk about fake-ass wide receiver 1?
Of course. If we're talking wide receivers, we got to talk about that fake-ass wide receiver 1 in Minnesota that wears number 18. No, this guy absolutely smashed on the Giants a couple weeks ago, and you can make the case that he has the highest ceiling on the slate, right? The best chance at a 40-point game and the best chance of being that guy you have to have in your lineup. So I think he's 8,600 on the small slate, 8,400 on the big slate. Either way, you can afford him. As Gerson said at the top of the show, if you're playing Kirk Cousins, you're playing Justin Jefferson, just go ahead and lock it in. He's going to be, I think, probably one of the most popular pay-up options. I think a lot of people are going to try and pay up for CMC and Justin Jefferson, and there's enough value to do it. So I think you certainly give yourself a lot of upside if you do that. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know how you get away from Justin Jefferson this week. Like Gerson said, maybe he has another one of those 7-point outings and we all just want to curse him. But, I think it's more likely.
I'm coming for blood, Jared. I'm coming for blood. I know where you sleep, and I also know where you take a nap on that freaking couch that looked like when Jeff was like a kid. Like, if that count, I bring you back.
I want to say, though, Tim, every time you've called out Justin Jefferson and called him a fake receiver 1, he's always done well. The week 17 for my championship game, and I got Justin Jefferson. You didn't call him that on the show.
That's true.
And he had his worst game of the season. So
well, I know the Packers, who never shadow, decided that they were going to shadow for the first time in like 2 years.
Oh, man,
So I don't know,
crazy.
man. You know, it's not my fault. I actually blame Gerson because he said
What
I don't think Jair. He did. You said I don't think Jair Alexander is all that. I think Justin Jefferson's going to have his way with them, and then he just shut that shit down. So
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
going to
first off, it was
Jair Alexander
and the safety over the top. So let's not give too much credit to Jair Alexander.
Hey, they made it work.
All right, Gerson, give me one of your elite guys there.
Oh, great. Jared's in the chat. What are we gonna do? Here we go. We got Jared and Alex. I mean, this might be in case nobody knows, Jared and Alex are both Jared's a Viking fan and Alex is a Giant fan, sadly. But anyway,
he's a Giants fan.
A Colts fan, a Giant fan, whatever you want to call it, Even if they put those two teams together, I don't even think they win a Super Bowl. Stephon Diggs, I mean, if there's a wide receiver that can actually break the slate, it's not just if it's not Justin Jefferson, it's Stephon Diggs. 7.7K. I couldn't believe the price. Pretty cheap. And I know on our show sheet we keep getting different prices. I keep noticing that. So make sure you look at your whatever slate.
We did I think because we all did different slates. I think you may have done a different slate that you pulled up. That's probably why.
Yeah, but it's not gonna be more far off than $200 or $100. But Stephon Diggs. It's playoff time. Stephon Diggs always done great in the playoff. If you go look at all his playoff games, this guy has killed it. Even the Minnesota Miracle game, I mean, killed it. Poor things. But no, targets are going to be there. They're not going to need a lot of. If they're going to score a lot of points, it's going to be through Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. I mean, we can, and I wouldn't be shocked if we see a Gabriel Davis game.
Those come out of nowhere.
It'll be rare.
Playoff Gabe. We got playoff Gabe coming.
Playoff Gabe. But I'm going to go with Stephon Diggs. Xavier Howard will probably shadow him, but I don't think it's going to matter because Diggs always goes pretty damn good against all of that. But I think that's a good pivot off Jefferson.
Yeah.
I feel weird saying that too because Justin Jefferson can just smash. If you
don't play him, he's going to have 40.
But then
it's just going to happen.
It's a good pivot. You could go to Stephon Diggs for a lot cheaper, and he can smash.
Yep.
But you really have to pick your point on a slate. Like I said, we have 3 different slates, right? So you have to pick your value and your pivots.
Yep, absolutely. All right, so my next one here is my lock.
Lock it in.
All right, so my lock is CeeDee Lamb at 7.7 on the 6-game slate. The Bucs have a pretty good defense. They're good on the corners. It's that slot that they kind of struggle with, and Lamb lines up 68% of the time in the slot. So I think he eats in that slot right there. I was trying to pull up his game log here, but I know up until the last week of the season, he had 14 targets, 11 the week before that. He went 7 for 7, 126 the week before that. He was getting peppered with targets constantly, and then all of a sudden, Dak decided to drop a turd in that Week 18 game against the Washington Commanders. But I do think Lamb against Tampa Bay on Monday night could smash there as well at 7.7 and get a ton of targets in that game. So he is my lock of the week. Let's move down into the mid-tier, and let's go ahead and just knock out yours too, Tim.
Lock it in.
Yeah, so Gerson mentioned at the top of the show, Mike Williams is officially ruled out, which means Keenan Allen becomes my lock of the week. He already had some of the best volume in the NFL. These are his last 5 games, 11 targets, 6 targets, 14 targets, 9 targets, 14 targets. And then you take Mike Williams out. He's almost a lock for a 14-target game. We always talk about volume. And if you're talking 10-plus targets at 7K, I don't know how you get away from it. Last week, as soon as Mike Williams went down, it just became the Keenan Allen show. Scored 33 Draftkings points, biggest score of the season. And I think he follows it up with another 20-plus point effort here. He's a little bit cheaper than some of the other guys we talked about. I don't know that he quite has the same ceiling as like a Stephon Diggs, but obviously he'll save you 600-700 and allow you to pay up elsewhere. And I think he's a lock for 20 points.
Yeah, he matched his touchdown total in one game last week. He had 2 touchdowns all year, and he had 2 in that one game. If he's catching touchdowns along with that volume he gets, it's wheels up for Keelan Allen for sure. I love.
Yeah, he also only had no 100-yard games until week 16, and he's had 2 in the last 3 weeks. So he's coming along at the right time.
Absolutely. Gerson, what you got for your mid-tier?
So basic. Oh, you're not gonna do my lock of the week, okay? So you went from like high yours, and then Tim.
Well, we're gonna do the lock of the week when this your value. We're not at the value level yet.
Oh, okay. Chris Godwin. I was, like I said early on, I was pretty shocked that Tim talked about Tom Brady, and then all of a sudden, I'm getting a little nervous here. Jeff said K-Dot-in, and I'm over here saying Chris Godwin. I'm like, are we all in on the Bucks? You know?
Oh yeah.
You know?
With the CeeDee Lamb comeback, apparently.
Hey man, I'm a Raiders fan, and it's gonna suck to say this because I know all Raiders fans hate me for this, but one more ring for Tom Brady and he's done. Hopefully.
I was gonna say, as soon as the Raiders are eliminated, Gerson is a Brady fan. He kicks right back in.
Yeah, I mean, there's only one person that's not a Brady fan in our shout. Oh, actually, I bet there's multiple, but Joe Flack, you definitely hate Tom Brady. But no, man. Godwin come back to like the last 6 to 7 weeks, he's been getting peppered with a monster target.
Yep.
This guy has been a monster target hogger. But like, I think in this game environment, it's not gonna matter. Dallas Cowboys can't cover Chris Godwin. They're down 2 cornerbacks. Put Diggs on him. I beg you, because he will get schooled. He will get schooled. Godwin will spin him in circle.
Yeah.
When I see that, and I say this to Cowboy fan a lot, because I know a lot of them, sadly. Travion Diggs is one of the most overrated cornerbacks in the league. He's a ball hawk. That's all he is. But once you get a good route runner, and once you get a guy that's fast, I'm talking like fast, like speed, like Tyreek Hill, he gets on because he's a ball hawk. He just goes for the ball, but he doesn't make defensive plays. I know that sounds stupid because if you intercept the ball, that's a defensive play, right? But you're being selfish. You're going for that ball, right? You're gonna get burned. And Godwin, he's just a persistent route runner. And Tim being the all pro. No, I'm not gonna say it, Tim. I'm just kidding. Godwin to me is 6.4K though. That's so cheap.
That's cheap.
And I think Godwin's gonna be one of the highest owned wide receivers for the slate. But I don't know, man. I feel like this slate. I feel guilty now because I thought I was the only one on Tom Brady and the Bucs, dude. Like I feel, I was like, dude, like I didn't want to put it in the sheet, and I'm like, well, I'll see what they say. And again, you guys notice. I don't look at you guys' sheet, but then I copy and pasted it. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah, we talked about it a couple weeks ago. You said at the top of the show, the Cowboys have one. Well, you said he's not great. They have one good corner right now, and it's Trayvon Diggs. The other 2 guys are their number 3, or number 4, and number 5 corners, and one of the guys is basically a special teamer. So anytime that Mike Evans is matched up with Trayvon Diggs, it's going to be Chris Godwin on somebody who has no shot to cover him. Yep. So I think Evans had the big week a couple weeks ago. I think Godwin's going to have the big week this week. We could see one of those 28, 30-point games. And like Gerson said, at 6,400 for that kind of volume, he's just too cheap.
Yep, I like it. So I had one more mid-tier guy, and I talked about the Bucs struggling with the slot player. So do the 49ers. They struggle defending the slot, and Tyler Lockett lines up in the slot. I think like almost half of his snaps are in the slot. I've seen it. Multiple teams have moved their best receivers into the slot against the 49ers so they can take advantage of that. I think the Cardinals did it 2 weeks ago when they had D-Hop running the slot. We saw the big play that Miami had on the first play of the game where Trent Sherfield took it to the house. He was in the slot. So we struggled there. We actually struggled so much that we put a safety to play nickel corner now. Jimmy Ward is now the slot corner to try to slow things down there. So Lockett at 6,000, I think is, the only Seattle player that I think I'm really interested in, because I do think he gets a ton of targets there. At 6K, you definitely can't pass that up. So Lockett is my mid tier. Let's move down into the value tier, and Gerson wanted to hear the drop, so we'll go ahead and give him the drop and kick it off here.
Lock it in.
Gerson wanted to hear the drop. Good God. I'm sorry. You guys get it, but I don't, huh? I'm Rick James, bitch.
There it is.
It's definitely Richie James, 3,900. High scoring game. Like, you can't get kickers. And he had a great game. Honestly, all the Giants game had a good game against them, though. But, I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. Like, every single time I watch the Giants game, and it's very rare, Richie James always fucking up, though.
Yeah.
Like punt return, like dropping balls. But, man, this is playoff. Hopefully he changes that. I hope he does. Otherwise, we're going to get Jared, like freaking Shane.
If Jared's team wins, he play. If we win and Jared's teams play, we play in the next round, so that'll be interesting.
Ooh, you guys might have to make a bet on that one.
Yeah, if it happens, sure.
Yeah. So no, I mean Richie James, man, like he's gonna get peppered with target, bad secondary, and it's gonna be a great scoring environment. 3,900. That's the way you get cheap on this slate.
Yep.
I know we're gonna talk about other values. Like honestly, the value on this slate or any slate, like if you're playing Monday night or Sunday, Saturday, or even Saturdays through Monday, it's all at wide receiver. That's why from the beginning of the show we said there's great value on this slate. And honestly, when you get a guy like we're going to talk about next, I mean, it's Dave Jones, okay? Sorry, I don't mean to spill that. He had 100 yards and 3 touchdown game. Like, holy crap, dude, that's crazy. But then when you get Richie James, that had a great game. Like, all these value wide receivers we're going to talk about today, they've all had great games. But that's the way you're going to afford CMC. That's the way you're going to afford Justin Jefferson. That's the way you're going to afford Josh Allen, That's the way it works,
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, I want to give a quick shout out to Jamie in the chat. He said, Richie James, guys living life like Galladay doesn't exist. This was one of my favorite stats I came across. So last week, we know the Giants held out everyone that they wanted to for week 18 so they wouldn't get hurt, right? Darius Slayton played 3 snaps. Richie James and Hodgins both played 0 snaps. Kenny Galladay played 100% of snaps, 63 out of 63. So they absolutely do not give any fucks about that dude at all. He is lower than Marcus Johnson, and he's like where David Sills is on the roster right now. It's just so sad what happened.
Did y'all see that? Did y'all see that meme for Kenny Galladay where it's like last week of the season he needs to catch
74 catches? Yeah,
I don't mean to make this the last 3 minutes of bashing Kenny Galladay on the Going for Two Network, but good God, there's two things I saw on Kenny Galladay that caught my eye this week. One of them, a guy put a 7-pick first touchdown scoring.
Parlay.
No, it wasn't first time score. Anytime scoring touchdown.
Yeah, anytime. Yeah.
Kenny Galladay was in it. He won $247,000.
That dude loves Kenny Galladay.
He won. Yeah, he won. Like it was like
it's got to be his cousin or something, right?
And then no. And then he won. He only bet like $846. Like I was like, who the fuck would bet $846 first? And then the second one was like, this guy goes, he bet his friend a mortgage. He's like, I'll pay your mortgage if Kenny Galladay catches a touchdown. The other guy was a Jet fan, and this guy was a Giant fan.
Wow.
And that mortgage wasn't cheap. Imagine, in New York, that stuff is not cheap.
That's not cheap at all. Not cheap at all.
Yeah, you talked about who I think will be the most popular, Zay Jones. I mean, at 4,300 with his upside, he's just too cheap. The other guy who became a big value today, obviously with Mike Williams out, is Josh Palmer at 5,300. I also think he'll be very popular. And then anybody? So you got one other guy, Jeff?
We put Giants receivers because you got Hodgins in there as well. I think Slayton's viable. I do like James the most out of the 3 of those guys, but Hodgins has been more of their touchdown catcher. So, if you're looking for touchdowns, he could potentially be a guy there at 41. But yeah, pick your poison there with the Giants receivers.
Yeah. Oh, say we do not have a sit call. Gerson actually put the same sit call I had. We're not doing sit calls this week. So we'll just tell you
that's fucked up.
the sit call is DeAndre Carter, right? He's the only guy under 4K that I think you can play. He has had 20-point upside. We have seen that before. And if you pay $3,600 for one of your wide receivers, that gives you the ability to pay up basically everywhere else. So he could give you like 4 points, right? So you got to keep that in mind. Yep. Palmer definitely has the safer volume. But if you get anything out of a guy at $3,600, he's worth the money. Go ahead.
Yeah. Carter's one of those guys that piss you off when Palmer is the chalk and then Carter goes off. He did it a few times.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gerson, what you guys see you raising your hand over there?
I don't have a crown, but if I could, I'd put it right on top of me. I'm the sit call king this year.
Yes,
I
you
hit
are.
the most sit calls, even though I fucking hate that.
He hates the segment, but he definitely crushed it. He crushed it.
No, you got to do awesome at that stuff more than me. I just got lucky.
Yeah, it's just a fun
it's Carter,
segment.
right? Yeah. Go ahead.
All right, let's get to the defenses.
Yes.
Defense.
All right, Tim, as always, go ahead and kick us off here.
All right, so you hear us talking about, play Richie James, play Zay Jones, play Josh Palmer. Who are you going to pay up for if you're paying down? You're paying up for the Bills defense. We talked about it earlier. Skylar Thompson, a.k.a. Skylar Thomas, and the Miami Dolphins only have a 15-point implied total. We saw last week they scored 2 special teams touchdowns. How did the Bills get to 30 points if it's not scored by Josh Allen? It's because it's scored by the defense, right? There's very little potential for there to be a lot of defensive touchdowns on this slate, and I think the highest potential is the Bucks. So you can pay up. They're only 3,300. Normally, this kind of defense on this slate would be like 4,000, but they're 3,300, and they're very affordable. So I don't know how you don't pay for the Bills on the 6-game slate. Just find a way to get there.
Yeah, I like it. I do have one team that I wanted to mention real quick. The Jacksonville Jaguars. I know, like you talked about how it's going to be a shootout and all of this, but in the Jags' last 5 games, they scored 12, 14, 17, and 15 points. 2 of them were Jets and the Texans. I know, so those games, but I mean, the other two were the Titans twice, and the Cowboys were in that sort of mix as well. So they've been putting up some big points lately, some big sack numbers. I think they've had 3 or 4 sacks in basically all those games. Some turnovers, had some touchdowns as well. So Jags at 2,700, they'll be much lower owned than the defense that Tim talked about. I think it's a sneaky little ad there at 2.7. Gerson, what you got for your defense?
I mean, defense is pretty straightforward this week, but I mean, I think if any way I'm going, it's definitely Tampa Bay Buccaneers. No, actually, yeah, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Man, I want to say Cincinnati Bengals though, because 3.5K is a little bit pricey, but again,
no, I think it's Bucks or Bills.
I see where you're coming with the Bengals, but I think the Ravens are going to have such a conservative game plan that they're going to run the ball 1 billion times, and they're not going to get turnovers or sacks because they just won't have the opportunity.
And they play super slow too, man. There's only going to be like maybe 20, 25 dropbacks, so it's going to be really hard for them to get enough potential to really break a slate.
Jeff, what do you think about the San Francisco 49ers defense?
I think they're good, obviously. I think they're gonna stop the run, and then Bosa and the boys are gonna go after Geno and get a ton of sacks. And quite honestly, on the other side of things, I'm gonna throw the Seahawks out there at 2.4, just because they're so cheap. And say what we will about Brock Purdy, he's still a 7th round last pick in the draft quarterback. He could definitely turn back into a pumpkin. And potentially have some turnovers.
I've seen people actually predicting the Seahawks to win this game, which I think is crazy.
I think it's crazy too. But at 2.4, the Seahawks give me like 8, 7. I'll be happy with that. A couple sacks and a turnover. I'll take that. So 2.4 is definitely cheap enough for me.
Yeah, I like the Bucks and the Jags, but I'm paying up for the Bills.
Yeah, I think Bills are where the chalk's going to be for sure.
So are we just going like chalk? Are we just going Bucks for cheap? Not Bills for expensive.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, let's get to our stacks.
GoingFor2.com's weekly stack report.
I'm going to mention Jamie real quick in the chat once more time. He mentioned that he's been doing underdog drafts while listening. He says, can we do more going for 2 drafts tonight? Funny thing is right before the show, I had
right before the show.
Draft. Literally like 5 minutes before I'm drafting. So we could definitely hit some more best ball drafts before the end of the night. Actually, this is a good time to kind of bring it up. I put it in the show sheet, but I skipped over it. But today's show, as always, brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. You can check out their industry-leading best ball leagues. They got huge tournaments, private leagues, and they even have pick'ems for every major sport. Sign up using our promo code GF2, get a deposit match up to $100. It's as simple as that. Sign up, use promo code GF2, and you can start drafting your best ball leagues right away. And the pick'em props for Super Wildcard Weekend as well. So definitely check out Underdog, guys.
Yeah. I know we're not quite at the shout-out segment, but I do want to shout out B-League, who does the pick'em video every week. It's a must-watch for me. Got to have my pick'ems in on Underdog.
Definitely. Yeah, he does a great show.
I want my money back.
Even if you don't do pick'ems, you can just listen to his voice because he got the Australian accent. He's just fucking hilarious. So definitely listen to his show. It comes on before us.
He doesn't like median league though.
No, he does not like the median scoring.
He doesn't like American beer either. That was pretty hilarious.
No, does not. All right, Gerson, go ahead and kick us off with your stack.
So my stack of the week, I mean, like I think I've been talking about it the whole show. Cousin, JJ Hawk, and Richie James. I'm pretty much all in on that game. I think that's gonna be the highest scoring game. I just get this vibe of the cold Viking game on a short slate, you know. If it burns me, it burns me. But I don't think people realize that the Chargers' pass defense have actually gotten better over the last 6 weeks, and that's one thing I didn't mention on the show. But I think this game is the only game that I think can shoot out to 60 points on this slate. And if it burns, it burns me. But again, like this is playoff. I'm not gonna have a lot of money on this playoff. Like I told you guys, I don't really I didn't plan on coming on this show. Honestly, I came on it. I really didn't. I swear on everything I have. I made up my mind to come on the show in the last 3 hours.
Wow.
But I didn't want to let you guys down. Like honestly, when I knew you guys were gonna come on, I'm like, damn it, I gotta do it, man. I can't let my homie down. You know, I can't let.
It's funny because like right before the show, I said over under. When does Gerson jump on?
He called it. Yeah, you were coming.
Well, is it because I have a good heart? How about that? How about you give me some credit?
It is.
But honestly, it just when I saw the title, I think you posted like a YouTube like something, and you said Tim and I tuning in for last week of the season.
Yeah.
Oh well, thanks a lot, Jeff.
Tell me you weren't coming. What was I supposed to put in the description?
I know. Hey.
Tim and I and maybe Gerson will show up. I'll put that next year.
Yeah,
you should put dot.
Maybe.
You should put dot question mark G.
No, hey. So I gotta say, every week it seems like I try and go a little contrarian with my stack, and when it works out for me, it works out for me. And this week, I feel like every week I played Vikings, and this week I'm not going to play Vikings. I'm going to play Bucks, right? If you've been listening all show, it's the Brady stack, right? Brady, Godwin. I originally had Schultz here, but I'm going to go with Jeff's lock of the week and bring it back with CeeDee Lamb.
Nice. I like it. So I
making Gerson uncomfortable with my Brady love.
No, man. Like I thought I was the only one, and then all of a sudden I'm like, damn,
it's a going for 2 secret, okay? We'll let everybody else play everything else, and going for 2 fam will be on the Brady stack.
I will say I listened to at least 2 podcasts this week, and they didn't mention Tampa Bay. So I think we might be the only one, not only ones on it, but we're going to be of the minority for sure.
Yep.
So my stack is pretty chalky. I went with Justin Herbert, Keenan Allen, Josh Palmer for the expense, for the price, and then bringing it back with ETN. You could potentially put Eckler in there, take Allen out maybe and put Eckler if you wanted to get really contrarian with that stack. I don't think Eckler's gonna be played as much as like Gerson said, he'll be lower owned for the elite guys, and he's a pass catcher too, so you can put Eckler in there somewhere. So that's my stack there. As Tim mentioned, there's no sick call this week. Gerson, I was going to mention it, but you already said that you were the winner this year. You beat us. We kept track of it. I think I had I had 4, Tim had 5, and I think you had 6. So you hit 6 out of 17 weeks. That's why Gerson doesn't like this segment, because he can't hit it often enough. Gerson wants to hit 16 out of 17 weeks if he could. All right, fellas, it's the end of the year. Let's wrap it up for one last time. We'll go to you first, Gerson.
You can find me at the Fantasy DFS, and you can find me at DFS Roundtable on Facebook. Long off season, I think Jeff is definitely going to have Dynasty podcast and all that stuff. I'll probably tune in when Jeff invites me, because I might not be too cool enough. Oh, fuck! My hamstring! I got a cramp! Oh! Go on, Jeff.
Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Keto DFS. As Gerson mentioned, DFS Roundtable group on Facebook. Since we won't have a show next week, we'll try and put some polls up in the group. And most importantly, next time you'll probably catch me on this here station is our annual draft show that I look forward to all year long. Anybody who knows me knows I love to grind the NFL draft, and I cannot wait for another year, because unfortunately, now that my Packers are out of the playoffs, it's draft season, baby.
Absolutely.
Wait. I have a question.
Go ahead.
Tim, will Aaron Rodgers be a Green Bay Packer next season?
Damn. You know what? Hey, we're not going to answer that. You're going to have to hold and find out later.
On the draft show. He'll mention it on the draft show, a little teaser. All right. As always, guys, you can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. This is the last DFS show, but obviously not the last show on the Going for Two Live Network. We have a full slate of shows this offseason. Got a couple new shows that are going to be popping up, a couple new hosts that are going to be popping up as well. So stay tuned to the network. We're doing a ton of dynasty coverage, rookie draft coverage. Gladys, if y'all watch the Monday night show, she's going to be having her own show. Like, she already has the Monday night show, but she's going to have her own show as just a solo host. And we're calling it In No Particular Order, is what her show is going to be called on Thursday night. So catch that. You know, it's going to be a great show. But as always, thank you all for tuning in. Everybody that's in the chat, you know, that comes here every Friday night to check us out, listen to our show. If you listen to it on the audio podcast, we appreciate everything y'all do. We love y'all so much. We do this for y'all. So great stuff there.
Hey, if we have enough interest, by the way, I didn't mention this. I don't even think I told you this, Jeff. If we have enough interest, we might do an XFL show again.
Absolutely.
I'm going to try and find a way to do XFL content this year.
I was looking at it like, oh, XFL's coming back. And I remember we did really well with that show, too.
I was making some money on XFL
now, huh?
Yeah, I was making some money on XFL, man. You know I love those fringe sports. Get Jamie and Kyle in here, dude, and we'll just knock the whole thing out.
Absolutely. All right, fellas, for one last time, for Gerson, for Tim, for Jeff, I'm Jeff. We will see you in a couple months on the draft show. So you keep an eye for that.
Go, Pack, go! Fuck the Vikings!
Peace.